The road ahead, it twists and turns, and the sun beats down and it burns. But I keep on pushing through, and every step quicker than the last. My feet tread down this beat.
How you doing? I'm with Brother Mills that I met at church today, and he's taken me around and shown me some historic sites that are really interesting, and he's got an interesting story. And I'm going to let him kind of introduce himself and tell the story of how his pioneer ancestors were affected by the pioneers that passed through here, and where the pioneers camped, and some of the kind of neat things that are really close to his farm.
Thank you. I'm originally from Corinne and Promontory, Utah, west of Brigham City, and our family moved and relocated our farm operation here about 9 years ago to the Scottsbluff, Nebraska area. The first winter that I was here, I spent some time to try to read up and learn and study a little bit about the Mormon Trail history in the area, and I was surprised and pleasantly discovered that some of the things that happened along the trail happened along some of the ground that we now farm. So I'll share a couple of stories. One is from Brigham Young's first company in 1847, who left winter quarters about April 5th, traveling and blazing the trail on the north side of the North Platte River as they come through the North Platte Valley here. And they were careful to record in their journals and make notations of landmarks and locations for the later travelers to be able to follow the trail that they were establishing. I took some of the information recorded in their journals, primarily from the Journal of William Clayton, and using Google Maps and the odometer recordings from their wagons, tried to pinpoint the locations where they might have camped in the area here where we live, to try to decide where those locations might be. So the first location that I think I had established was May the 27th, 1847. They camped near what is today the John Deere dealership, 21st Century Equipment, here in Scottsbluff, which is also very near the historic site of the burial of Rebecca Winters, who was a later Mormon pioneer traveler who passed away along the trail, and there's a marker here commemorating that. So that's where their location was on May the 27th. The following day, when they left camp, they passed what would be today the Scottsbluff National Monument, and they passed that midday, and they made some recordings. Parley P. Pratt had a sextant with him that allowed him to triangulate and measure what he estimated the height of the Scottsbluff to be, and recorded about where that location is relative to where they had encamped. Later on that day, they camped that evening at a location not too far from where I now live, along Spotted Tail Creek, where the Spotted Tail Creek confluences into the North Platte River. As they got up the morning of May 28th, it was raining and it wasn't good weather, and so they didn't immediately prepare to travel. And what ended up happening is Brigham Young took an opportunity to stand on the back of what he called a boat wagon, which must have been something that he used to cross rivers with, to rebuke them for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. He rebuked them for their not being distracted from the purpose of their journey to go to the west and establish Zion, and rebuked them for some of the practices that he was not proud that they were engaged in: card playing, some use of tobacco. There was a practice at the time called mock trials, which today would be kind of like a celebrity roast, where they made fun of and mocked each other. Anyway, he took that time to rebuke them pretty harshly, and that's recorded in several of the journals. That was a Saturday evening in May the 28th. The next morning, that was a Friday evening. The next morning, Saturday, they traveled about another 14 miles further west up the North Platte River and encamped somewhere near Henry, Nebraska, maybe about a mile to 2 miles downriver from Henry, Nebraska, right on the border of Nebraska and Wyoming. It's recorded there primarily in Heber C. Kimball's journal that they took that day, the Sabbath, to repent of some of the things that they had been counseled and rebuked by the prophet. They took it very humbly. They did not have an attitude of rebellion or hurt from the rebuke, but took it quite humbly. It again rained that morning. With it being the Sabbath, they didn't travel. They after the rains quit in the afternoon, the sun came out, and about 8 of the 12 apostles that were in that party gathered together with other priesthood leaders, and they went up on what they described as a sandy bluff away from the river a little bit, and they built an altar with whatever they could find for material there, and they recommitted themselves in wearing the temple garments and dedicated themselves to the purpose of their journey. And in a prayer circle similar to what we have in the temple today, that was a significant event for them in that they prepared themselves for the rest of the journey of traveling to the Rocky Mountains, knowing that that would be a much more difficult part of the journey, and remembered their purpose in going there in the first place, to establish Zion in the Rocky Mountains.
So you can see a couple of things that are consistent here, like it rained every day. It's been raining all day today. But the thing about it is Brigham Young could see the start of the Rocky Mountains from there. They were and stuff, and so that's where I'm at right now on this. So I'm right on the edge of the Rocky Mountains, and my journey's about to get a lot more complicated, or a lot tougher. Not maybe more complicated, but definitely harder. And so I'm going to kind of rededicate my walk right here. And I've been thinking about that this weekend and steeling myself up and getting myself pumped for the last push through the mountains. And anyway, get back with you.